Our freedoms are threatened. In fact, our freedoms are being destroyed before our very eyes. Democracy is being destroyed in the Houses of Parliament. What a place to destroy democracy. The House of Parliament are using the MPs are using their privilege to destroy the democratic will of the British people. But more than that, they're trying to ram through legislation. And I'm talking about the legislation, the online harms white paper that's just been published, and there's a great fanfare about it in the media yesterday. And of course, what they always do with bad legislation is they hide it among good legislation. And there is good legislation on harmful content on the internet. Terrorists shouldn't be able to teach people how to carry out terrorist attacks through internet chat rooms. That should be closed down, of course it should. Grooming gangs and groomers should not be able to use the internet to exploit vulnerable children and sexually abuse them. That's totally wrong, and it should be legislated against. How could anybody have a problem with that? But what the government have done, and it's insidious what they've done, because they have sneaked into that legislation that is necessary. They have sneaked into that legislation a way of closing people like me and other activists who are speaking out against radical Islam, against the radical left, against the establishment, against the anti-democratic forces of the EU. They have sneaked into this legislation ways of closing us down. Let me just read the opening gambit. It's titled "The Problem." Now listen to the first phrase in this summary of the white paper. Illegal and unacceptable content and activity is widespread online, and UK users are concerned about what they see and experience on the internet. Well, do you see what they've done there? They have lumped in illegal and unacceptable content. See, if content's illegal, it's illegal, and the people that have put up that illegal content should be prosecuted and arrested. But who defines what's unacceptable? Sure, the whole point of something being illegal is it's unacceptable. Then they go on to say, they talk about terrorism, but then they go on to say this: there is also real danger that hostile actors use online disinformation to undermine our democratic values and principles. Social media platforms use algorithms which can lead to echo chambers or filter bubbles, where a user is presented with only one type of content instead of seeing a range of voices and opinions. Now, that little paragraph right there could just be describing the BBC, because that's what the BBC does. The BBC's an echo chamber. It's full of liberal lovies that hate people like me, that think we're oiks that shouldn't have any power and shouldn't have a voice and want to close us down. But the government's exactly the same as the BBC. They want to close us down as well. Well, my message to the government is, I'm quite happy with my echo chamber. I know what's going on outside the echo chamber, but I like communicating with like-minded people. Don't try and interrupt me and stop me doing it. Then point 6 says this: other online behaviours or content, even if they may not be illegal in all circumstances, can also cause serious harm. Now, I'm going to have to use the word Stephen when I talk about this gentleman. You all know who I'm talking about. But when this goes onto Facebook, if I use the name that he's most widely known by, I will be banned from Facebook immediately. Now, Stephen has been removed from almost every social media platform there is on the planet. He has been unpersoned. And I have listened to almost everything that this man has said since he started his career of activism. And I'm sure that not only have I listened to what he said, but MI5, the police, the left-wing media, the left-wing lobby groups and the Islamists have all listened to what he said. And if he'd said one thing that was illegal in terms of hate speech, he would have been arrested, he would have been dragged through the courts, and he would have been imprisoned for saying those things. The man's never been arrested or charged with hate speech. But every single social media platform, without this legislation even being enacted, has closed him down. And they haven't actually closed him down because they necessarily wanted to close him down. They've closed him down because of pressure from government, left-wing and Islamist lobby groups. That's why he's been closed down. And this legislation is going to make that so much more serious. Think about the amount of people that have had their accounts closed down on Facebook in the last 30 days in this purge of people in our movement. Do you think this is going to make that any better? Absolutely not. This legislation is going to be draconian. They're talking about prosecuting CEOs of social media pages and websites. So it's not going to be long before news websites that are publishing news that is contrary to what the orthodox liberal elite want you to hear will be arrested and prosecuted for publishing the news. Frightening. Very, very frightening. This legislation needs to be completely opposed. Not the stuff about terrorism, not the stuff about child grooming. That's totally acceptable and good legislation. The stuff that's in here that is designed specifically to close people like me down, people like Stephen down, UKIP, the little independent media groups that are popping up all over the place. I think of Unity News Network, an excellent news outlet, Political Light, Kipper Central, Breitbart, Westminster. All of us will be targeted. And you see, this is where we've all got to stand together, because it's all right getting a bit sniffy about not associating with the tattooed working class oiks and the veterans who maybe are just a little bit below your socio-economic group. Every single one of us must stand together and oppose this legislation. How do we do it? I'm going to post a link below this video. And what we need to do, we need to go on to the consultation document and we need to respond as a member of the public. Or if you've got a news organisation, or if you're involved in a political party, you need to oppose this. And you need to do it quickly, because this consultation period runs out on the 22nd of July. It's very interesting. They're sneaking this through while Brexit's happening, while people are preoccupied with the other assault on democracy. This is all part of the assault on democracy. And anybody that believes in freedom of speech has to take a stand against this. This will close us down. That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to get at the perverts and the criminals and the terrorists. It's designed to close us down as well as them. And it actually very insidiously lumps us all in as the same sort of people, which is even worse, because we're standing against people who are involved in child sexual exploitation and terrorism. This is how insidious and how upside down the thinking of our state and our government has got. I never thought that I would be standing as a 50-year-old man, standing against the state that I once was willing to lay down my life for. But unfortunately, that's the position I find myself in, because of the way they betrayed us on Brexit, because of the way they capitulate to Islamic terrorists and radicals, and because of the way they're actually silencing people who are patriotic and love the country. So get on the consultation document, get in there, oppose this legislation, give good arguments why it's bad legislation, why the terrorist stuff and the child abuse stuff has got to be separated from what are definitely going to be freedom of speech issues. The laugh of this legislation is later on in the document. It says, our vision is for a free, open and secure internet, and for freedom of expression online. Oh really? Are we really meant to believe that when we read through who you're going to go after in this, in terms of freedom of speech? Right, that's it. That's the rant over for this morning. I think this is a really important issue that every single one of us need to get abreast of, and we need to respond to these to this document, and we need to respond very, very quickly before we run out of time. Okay, thank you.